Imagine you're sitting in a movie theater.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right. And a massive Hollywood blockbuster is playing. The studio just spent, I don't know, $100 million rendering the most photorealistic, hyper-detailed building collapse in cinematic history.
Oh, yeah, the big set piece.
Exactly. What do you do?
Well, usually I pull out my phone.
Yes, you casually pull out your phone, stare at a little flat glowing rectangle, and check to see if your grocery delivery is 5 minutes away.
It's so true, though. It's a profound disconnect.
Yeah.
Like when you frame it like that, it sounds completely absurd.
It really does.
A multi-million-dollar sensory spectacle loses out to a completely mundane user interface.
It is wild, and it perfectly sets up our mission for you today. We are going to decode the hidden underlying laws of the modern attention economy.
Because we really want to figure out exactly why that multi-million-dollar explosion just doesn't work on you anymore.
Exactly.
And we should establish right off the bat that this isn't, some lightweight marketing pamphlet or a guide on how to growth hack a social media algorithm.
No, not at all.
It is a highly multidisciplinary synthesis. We are pulling threads from structural biology, behavioral economics, and honestly, the literal philosophy of existence.
Which is heavy, but so fascinating.
It is. The core premise we are exploring today is that human attention isn't just a metric on a dashboard. It is a physical property of the universe, governed by immutable laws. And at the absolute center of those laws is the idea that uniqueness, like unpredictable difference, is the non-negotiable core principle of existence itself.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that foundational argument hits like a ton of bricks.
Mm.
We have to look at attention as the terminal currency of the digital age.
Yeah, terminal currency really clarifies the landscape, I think. Think about the sheer spectrum of media competing for your eyes right now.
It's overwhelming.
Right. You have mobile games flashing candy-colored lights, deeply challenging 3-hour independent films, massive corporate branding campaigns, and, kids dancing in their bedrooms for clout.
Just an absolute avalanche of content.
Exactly. And on the surface, the goals seem entirely different.
Mm.
The indie filmmaker wants prestige, the corporation wants quarterly sales, the kid wants brand deals.
But if you look closely at all that content, none of those people actually just want attention for the sake of attention.
No, not usually.
It's really just a mask for extracting capital or power, right?
Right. They can't get that capital or power without first extracting human focus. Focus is the raw, unrefined crude oil of the modern economy. You mine it, you refine it, and eventually it converts into whatever you're actually after.
And the most terrifying part of this whole equation is that focus is a strictly finite resource.
Highly finite.
Like, we can print fiat money, we can spin up servers to write infinite lines of code, we can upload millions of hours of video every single day, but we absolutely cannot generate more than 24 hours of human consciousness in a single rotation of the Earth.
No matter how hard we try.
Right. It's a hard biological cap.
Which means that biological cap is forced to react to the sheer volume of modern media. Because attention is finite and strictly limited, it's subject to brutal economic pressures. We are living through massive sensory inflation.
Sensory inflation. That perfectly names the lingering exhaustion we all feel day in and day out.
It's the inevitable byproduct of digital democratization. Once the barrier to entry dropped and anyone with a smartphone could shoot, edit, and broadcast high-definition media to the entire globe, the volume of stimulating content just skyrocketed.
And our brains had to deal with that.
Exactly. To protect itself from being utterly overwhelmed by this constant barrage, the human brain's baseline for what it actually considers stimulating shifted violently upward.
Right. If we rewind to, say, the mid-90s, early groundbreaking CGI like Jurassic Park was a genuine physiological event.
Oh, people were terrified.
Heart rate spiked, pupils dilated, adrenaline pumped. That anomaly demanded our absolute terminal currency. But now, that $100 million CGI building collapse barely registers.
Because sensory inflation turned that anomaly into a commodity, those hyper-polished, industrialized CGI effects no longer signal uniqueness to our nervous system.
They just look normal.
Worse than normal, they signal laziness.
Yeah.
They're the expected standard. And therefore, they're just predictable white noise to your brain.
I mapped this directly onto caffeine tolerance.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right. It is the exact same biological mechanism. Think about the very first time you ever drank a cup of basic black drip coffee.
It was probably vibrating.
Exactly. It was a massive biological anomaly. You were jittery, your mind was racing, and you stared at the ceiling until 3 in the morning. That simple stimulus did the job entirely.
But then you keep drinking it.
Yeah, you drink it every day. Your baseline shifts upward to protect your system. Years later, you require a double espresso just to feel normal.
Oh, at least.
In today's media landscape, we're all downing digital triple espressos just to stay awake while we scroll.
Yeah, our neural baseline has fundamentally shifted.
Right.
So the burden on anyone trying to communicate with you, whether that's a creator, a business, a teacher, is just immense. If a massive explosion doesn't work, we need a reliable mathematical formula for engagement.
We are talking about the attention equation, and this is where the theory gets extremely practical for anyone trying to cut through the noise.
Let's hear the math.
The equation goes like this. Attention equals uniqueness multiplied by emotional charge multiplied by identity relevance.
Okay.
And crucially, that entire top half of the equation, the numerator, is divided by friction.
Let's break down that top half first. The first multiplier is uniqueness, the hook.
Yeah.
It's the sensory anomaly. It's the thing that forces your brain to snap out of its automated filtering mode. If you lack uniqueness, the rest of the equation is mathematically zero. The brain never even boots up the conscious software to process what you're saying.
I want to push back on uniqueness being enough on its own, though.
Oh, sure.
Because I see weird stuff on my feed all day long, like a video of a guy juggling chainsaws on a unicycle in a chicken suit.
Yeah, you see that kind of thing a lot now.
Right. That is highly unique. It's a massive pattern interrupt. But I would look at it for 1 second, swipe past it, and forget it ever existed. It doesn't capture my attention long term.
Well, that's because uniqueness is merely the first variable. It must be multiplied by emotional charge. Randomness does not equal resonance. Emotional charge is the degree to which the content alters your internal state. And it doesn't even have to be positive. Awe, outrage, hilariousness, existential dread.
All the fun internet feelings.
Exactly. These are high arousal states that pull you forcefully out of neutral apathy. Without an emotional charge, your chainsaw juggler is just random, meaningless noise.
Okay, so I've interrupted their pattern with something unique, and I've made them feel something with an emotional charge. But that still doesn't guarantee they'll care about it beyond that passing moment.
Right. They might just move on.
What locks them in, that's where identity relevance comes in.
The psychological anchor.
Yeah.
Does sharing this validate a deeply held belief? Does it signal belonging to a specific political or cultural tribe?
Or increase social status.
Yes. If a piece of media is unique, triggers high arousal, and speaks directly to who the viewer believes they are, it operates at absolute maximum capacity.
But then we hit the bottom half of the equation, the divisor, friction. And this feels like the most brutal part of the formula. Because it's a division problem, friction acts as a multiplier of doom. You could have off the charts uniqueness, emotion, and identity, but if the friction is too high, the whole thing nosedives to zero.
Yeah, friction is any cognitive or structural resistance between the user and the reward. The biological brain is inherently lazy.
It really is.
It evolved to conserve calories. If decoding a dense headline or waiting for a video to buffer costs too much cognitive energy, the brain simply aborts the mission.
Just shuts it down.
Think of it like a bank vault full of solid gold. It doesn't matter how valuable the gold inside is. If the vault door is incredibly heavy, the lock is a 50-step puzzle, and the handle is covered in grease, people will just walk away.
Which perfectly explains the entire business model of Silicon Valley.
Oh, completely.
If you think about the internet in 2010, you had to click a link, wait 10 seconds, dismiss 3 pop-up ads, and manually click a next page button. That is structural resistance.
It was exhausting.
But algorithmic platforms today, the infinite scroll, they have waged a scorched earth war on friction. They engineered it down to literal zero. You don't even choose to load the next video. It auto-loads with a micro flick of the thumb.
Eliminating friction mathematically forces an arms race on the top of the equation. Because everyone is now easy to access, you can no longer win by just being frictionless. The pressure falls entirely on that gatekeeper variable, uniqueness.
Right, but uniqueness is such a hollow buzzword. Every marketing guru on the planet says, you have to stand out. What does it actually physically mean to be unique?
Okay, we have to take a radical pivot here into ontology.
The philosophical study of being.
Exactly. And the central thesis of our entire deep dive takes center stage here. To exist is to be distinct. Unpredictable difference is the core principle of existence.
I have to admit, when I read to exist is to be distinct, my brain short-circuited a bit. How does being different equal existence?
Imagine a theoretically infinite, perfectly empty void.
Okay, picture it.
It is completely uniform, endless space, all the exact same shade of gray. For a physical object to actually come into existence within that space, for you to be able to perceive it, it must possess boundaries.
So if I drop a gray hammer, one that is the exact same shade, texture, and lighting, into that infinite gray room, I wouldn't be able to see it at all.
No. Without a definitive edge, without a point of contrast in color or shadow, the object is effectively just more of the background.
Wow.
Differentiation is what creates form. We can look at a 17th century principle by the philosopher Leibniz called the identity of indiscernibles.
Okay, what did Leibniz say?
He argued that if two objects share every single property in common, if there is absolutely no point of difference between them whatsoever, they are not two distinct objects. They are conceptually one. Difference is the requirement for reality.
Okay, I have to challenge Leibniz on this. Let's say I'm holding two identical, mass-produced white coffee mugs that rolled off the exact same assembly line. They are identical in every way, but there are clearly two mugs. I have one in my left hand and one in my right hand.
But they do not share every single property.
What do you mean?
The mug in your left hand occupies a different set of spatial coordinates than the mug in your right hand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That spatial location is a point of difference. If you magically merged them to occupy the exact same space at the exact same time, you would only have one mug. Difference is the non-negotiable requirement for individuality.
That is mind-bending.
It is. True creation isn't rearranging familiar things. It is establishing a radical point of difference that forces reality to redraw its boundaries.
That reminds me of an analogy. Imagine you spend 5 hours drawing a highly detailed snowman on a piece of white printer paper.
Okay.
But you use a white crayon. You press really hard, you put immense effort in, but without a black outline, without a boundary of differentiation, your hard work is entirely invisible. It literally doesn't exist to the observer.
That is exactly it. If you match the background exactly, you are the background. And this isn't just abstract 17th century philosophy. This mandate to be distinct is hard-coded into our evolutionary biology.
How so?
Our nervous system is fundamentally a difference detector.
Because perceiving everything all the time would melt our brains with the caloric load.
Exactly.
An early human hunter-gatherer doesn't need to consciously process every single blade of swaying grass. They only need their peripheral vision to snap to attention when there is a sudden non-uniform movement, a difference that might be a predator.
Yeah, we experience neural adaptation constantly. Take a second right now as you are listening to this. Notice the feeling of your clothes resting on your shoulders.
Okay.
Or the hum of your refrigerator in the next room.
I literally didn't feel my shirt until you just said that. Your brain edits your reality to remove the familiar.
Yes. The physical sensation of the fabric was always there, and the sound waves from the fridge were always hitting your eardrum. But your brain recognized the stimulus as constant and unvarying, so it deployed a filter to save cognitive bandwidth.
That makes total sense.
You only notice the air conditioner again when it suddenly shuts off. Change is the stimulus.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if we scale that biological filter up to the macro level of 8 billion people, it explains the entire life cycle of human culture.
It shifts the entire paradigm of how we view innovation. If you look at human culture as a continuous vibrating wave chart, the vast majority of our output operates as background waves.
Background waves.
Yeah, these are safe derivative iterations.
Like the 10th sequel in a superhero franchise using the exact same plot beats.
Right.
Or a new smartphone that looks identical to last year's but has a slightly better camera.
Or a pop song using the same 4 chords as the last 50 songs. Background waves aren't inherently bad, but they are predictable. They are the white crayon on white paper.
We process them without really seeing them.
Exactly. But very rarely, a cultural singularity occurs.
A singularity. This is an event so structurally unprecedented that it shatters the existing scale and forces a permanent baseline reset.
Think about the transition in mobile communication. The background waves were BlackBerries and flip phones.
Oh man, I loved my flip phone.
We all did. And the whole industry was iterating within the lines, making physical plastic keyboards slightly more ergonomic. But then, Steve Jobs introduces the iPhone.
The ultimate pattern interrupt.
Yes, it violently removes the physical keyboard entirely, turning the face into a sheet of responsive glass. That is a structural break.
And the day after the iPhone came out, the BlackBerry looked like a primitive artifact. The singularity becomes the new flat baseline.
Always.
It happened when Nirvana and grunge made 80s hair metal look instantly ridiculous.
Oh, that was a massive shift.
Or when The Matrix introduced bullet time. Before The Matrix, action movies looked one way. After The Matrix, every action movie had to react to bullet time.
which forces us to ask a really heavy question regarding our future. If a true singularity requires a total structural break from the past, what does this mean for artificial intelligence?
Oh, here we go.
We are currently trusting AI to invent our future. We look at it as an unlimited creation machine.
But if you dig into the architecture, AI is fundamentally an engine of generalization, not creation. It is structurally incapable of producing a cultural singularity.
Right. And to understand why, we have to look at the mechanics of the latent space.
The latent space, let's break that down.
Modern AI takes vast data sets, every book, every painting, every recorded song, and maps them as mathematical coordinates in a massive multidimensional space.
Okay, so it's all just points on a huge graph.
Basically. Shakespeare sits at one coordinate and modern sci-fi sits at another. When you prompt an AI to write a sci-fi script in Shakespearean English, it executes a mathematical process called interpolation.
Interpolation. It calculates the statistical average between known entities. It finds the smoothest path between the data cluster for sci-fi and the cluster for Shakespeare.
Yes, the output equals interpolation of existing training data, which, mathematically, is identical to the definition of background waves.
That is so true.
AI is bound by its training distribution. It cannot step off the map because the map is all it knows.
Think of it like a master DJ. Imagine a DJ in a booth with a hard drive containing every song humanity has ever recorded.
That's a lot of music.
Right. Because they have access to everything, they can perfectly mix a 17th century Gregorian chant with 90s boom bap hip hop and 80s synth pop. It will sound incredible, and to a casual listener, it might even sound new.
But it's still just a highly complex rearrangement of the past.
Exactly. No matter how flawlessly that DJ mixes existing tracks, they cannot step out of the DJ booth, walk out into the woods, carve a bone, and invent the very first flute.
They are trapped in the booth.
AI is permanently trapped in the booth. It can only play with instruments biological humans have already placed into the dataset. Inventing the flute is extrapolation.
We are looking at an algorithmic ceiling. AI is the ultimate flawless mirror reflecting human history back at us, but a mirror cannot independently author the future.
It just reflects.
True extrapolation requires a biological consciousness capable of stepping outside the established grid.
Which begs the question, if AI is stuck in the background waves, what biological mechanism actually incentivizes humans to step off the map and invent the new? What makes us carve the bone flute?
The bizarre answer is laughter.
Laughter.
It's such an elegant pivot in the manifesto. If you look at laughter purely mechanically, physiologically, it is profoundly weird.
It really is when you stop and think about it.
Baring our teeth, rapid erratic breathing, chest convulsions, in almost any other primate species, the exact display is a signal of extreme aggression or acute distress.
If a chimpanzee bares its teeth and convulses, violence is imminent.
You better run.
Yeah, yet we evolved this display as a reward mechanism. And there's research comparing human laughter to the play pants of great apes, this heavy, rhythmic panting to signal a mock fight. Like, we're fighting, but it's safe.
This ties into the incongruity theory of humor, which posits that laughter is the biological reward for processing a microsingularity, or safe unpredictability.
Think about the anatomy of a joke. You have the setup, which establishes a predictable logical pattern, a background wave. Your brain says, I know where this is going.
And then comes the punchline.
Right.
The punchline is the anomaly. It is a sudden, jarring piece of information that violates the logic of the setup. It breaks the pattern. For a fraction of a second, your brain's prediction engine crashes.
It's a glitch. And biologically, broken patterns usually signal a threat, like rustling in the bushes being a tiger. But then you hit the resolution. Your brain processes the anomaly and realizes it's harmless. It's just a subversion of expectations.
In that exact moment of resolving a harmless glitch, the brain releases a massive euphoric flood of dopamine and endorphins, physically causing the convulsion of laughter.
Wow.
It is nature chemically addicting us to the new.
So we push past the background waves to build civilization. And if you tie that back to the attention equation, humor is the ultimate shortcut.
It really is.
It breaks the pattern to provide uniqueness, it delivers a chemical reward for emotional charge, and it relies on shared knowledge for identity relevance. It is the biological engine that drives us to be distinct.
Exactly.